your program you've been waiting for, The Professional Edge, Education Unlocked. This is where we look at education inside out. And if you are a parent, you're a student, you are a school leader, you are a school owner, this is a program for you. There's always something for you every week like this, Friday, 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. And today, we are looking at another very interesting topic. ChatGPT, Google, Claude, and the AI revolution. Do we still need libraries? And Dr. Sophia Adeyeye, immediate past chairperson, Nigeria Library Association, Oyo State Chapter, and the head of department, Library, Archival, and Information Science here in Ibadan. So wherever you are today, we are reaching you from the Knowledge Hub, Okeado Ibadan, where we inform, inspire, and ignite. Welcome to the program. Dr. Sophie, before we begin today's program, permit me to publicly congratulate you on your recent conferment as a fellow of the Nigeria Library Association. I believe it's a well-deserved recognition, and with the investiture coming up later this month, this is indeed a special moment in your professional career. Let me just ask, what does this honor mean to you?
To me, is like the result of everything I've been doing as a librarian and for libraries. All the years of advocacy, all the years of mentoring, all the years of creating awareness, because the FNLA is the, how do I put it now? Is the is the biggest thing that can happen to any librarian in Nigeria. That's the highest form of award that we all look forward to as librarian in Nigeria. Thank you.
It's a real pleasure having you on this program. More than 3 decades ago, we worked together as young teachers at St. Anne's School, watching your journey from those early days to becoming a doctor, I wanted to say professor, head of department of this at this university has been truly inspiring. Did you ever, in your wildest imagination, back then, did you ever imagine that this would be your path?
Yes. I was intentional about myself. All this did not just happen. I was intentional about myself. I went back to school. When I started teaching then, I had NC, and I knew I had to just let me just put it that I was intentional about myself, and I put in lots of hard work, reading, hard work, commitment, but it's all on God anyway, because I could have put in all those things and it would not have yielded anything. So I still want to put it that it's all of God, but I put in a lot of hard work.
So when you look back from your early days as a young NCE teacher at St. Anne's School to now being honored with the fellowship, what thoughts usually go through your mind?
When I was growing up, I had lots of issues with my dad, because, then he thought, not that he thought, I was not reading. I was not committed to my education, and he got so annoyed with me. And just to tell him that, it's not that I was not brilliant, that I was not just reading. So whatever has happened to me now, because it happened because I was trying to tell my dad that I can do this. And unfortunately, he's not alive.
I was about to ask whether your dad is still alive now to witness
Unfortunately, he's not alive, but whatever has happened to me over the years is because I was just trying to be daddy's girl, trying to buy in and trying to let him see me that I can actually do what he thought I couldn't. But he was alive till after my master's, but he died and he could not witness my PhD.
Congratulations once again.
Thank you.
So, what would you say to a young teacher who feels that where they are today is where they will always remain?
Oh, it depends on their dream and what they want out of life. All of us cannot leave the teaching. When I say teaching, because I'm still teaching presently, but the primary and secondary school teaching, all of us cannot really leave that path. But whatever path we have chosen for ourselves, we should be committed. But for those that have it in mind that, they want to leave the primary and secondary school teaching to university teaching, I think all what they need to do is dream about it, not just dream, pursue it and be committed. Be intentional. Whatever you have, for me, I think whatever we have actually, whatever dream that we think we can become in life, hard work and commitment will surely pay off at the end of the day. Just put in effort and be committed. All these things will come to pass in a very short while. Before you know it, things will just happen, and that is it.
You've built a distinguished academic career while also fulfilling your responsibility at home. Many young women, especially, wonder whether it's possible to excel in both. So I want to ask you, how have you managed that balance over the years?
I want to sincerely thank my husband, the person that married me, or I got married to. I can remember when I went back to University of Ibadan in my year 2. That was when I got married, and I told him about my aspiration, what I plan to become in life, and he keyed into it. And throughout my university days, especially the undergraduate days, I had my first and my second child during my undergraduate days. He will be there, nursing the baby while I'm writing exams. And I really want to thank him for that. I remember my professor, one of my professors, she's now late, going back for my master's, and we met on the corridor. I was pregnant, and she said, and I'm like, excuse me, ma, as a woman, I can multitask naturally. And I think as a woman in our as at that time, I was in my late 20s going to 30s, and I'm like, I have to do what I have to do. So number one, the person you are married to has a lot to do with how far you go in life. If that person is not in tune, or maybe the person is not really committed to your growth as a woman, that woman is likely to run into trouble. The moment you don't have the buy-in of your husband, and I think that is the major thing anyway. Even when I crossed from teaching, that I started lecturing, I had to travel for conferences. The children were not still, they were not adults then, but now my baby is now 18 years old. So there's a limit to, but then when I was growing, I think the major backbone that I had then was my husband. And it's still the backbone is my husband.
So it's right to say that it's also true that behind every successful woman, there's also a man.
Yes, and I'm intentional about myself anyway. I'm highly intentional about myself.
Okay. Well, for listeners out there who may not know much about your profession, in today's world, who is a librarian? Because while we were growing up, we see the librarian as the woman in the library giving us books.
Shelving books.
Shelving books, okay. Shelving books. When you return the books, when you go to collect. So in today's world, who is a librarian?
A librarian is knowledge manager. A librarian is information professional. A librarian is a cultural ambassador. A librarian is an inclusive person. Making sure that everybody in the society have access to information. And not just not just anyhow information that are authentic. That is why. So when you talk about a librarian now, you are not looking at one woman, in skirt and blouse, or a man trying to put books on the shelf. You are not looking at, libraries are now maker spaces. Maker spaces because it is broad, it is encompassing, it's beyond books. Libraries and librarians are beyond books.
Oh, I think I'm learning too, because all my life I've always seen librarians as shelfing. Many people still think a library is simply a room filled with books.
No.
Has that definition changed?
Yes, libraries are now maker spaces.
What does that mean?
That means now, if you want to build a modern library now, you are not just building a hub where you put books alone. You are building halls where you are building space where people can come together and access information. You are building a space where any person in the society can log onto anywhere in the whole world and access information. You are building a space where, in fact, in modern libraries now, you have places where people can come in there and watch cinemas. You have spaces where people can come in there and learn simple things like knitting of clothes. That is what a library is. It's not just about, but depending on the type of library.
Okay.
We have different types of library. We have the National Library, which is the modern library. We have the academic libraries. These are libraries that are located within higher institutions. We call them academic libraries. And people that work there are known as academic librarians. And even though they are academic librarians, they still have to function as scholarly knowledge librarians. They still have to function as electronic librarians. They still have to function as research support librarians and other stuff that are cataloger. They have different roles. Serial development librarian. They have acquisition. We have acquisition librarians within the academic library. Any librarian that works in a school, talking about secondary school and primary school now, we refer to them as school librarians. A librarian that works in corporate organization like CBN, like ICANN, like specialized organization, we call them, those libraries are special libraries because they are dedicated to the need of the parent institution.
What about librarians working in the judiciary?
They are law librarians.
Okay.
And most times we from people like that, they will have been trained as lawyers first before coming to the library school to have their master's degree in library science.
Right.
So because their own kind of cataloging, they have special way of cataloging their books. We have medical librarians. For librarians that work in health institutions, we call them medical librarians. So it's a whole lot depending on the parents, as the parent body. We have librarians that work in research institutions. We call them either research librarians or librarians that work in special libraries. So depending on, and of course we have librarians that work in organizations. They are trained as librarians, but organizations will bring them on as knowledge managers.
Okay.
As information resource people.
Okay.
So that's to tell you, I'm just trying to tell you that librarianship is not only about, it's just the book aspect is just an aspect that people focus on. And that is why at times when I listen to people talk on TikTok or Facebook that, the worst course to go to the university to study is library information science, I laugh at that person's ignorance. because the course is library and information science. So why are you focusing on the book and leaving out the information science aspects?
While trying to make my own research about you, I went to your Facebook page and I saw you celebrating International Federation of Library Association, IFLA institution. So tell us briefly about that international association.
International Association for Libraries and Libraries Association and Institution. That is the biggest association that is bringing in all library association in the whole world.
Right.
So I'm an elected standing committee member of IFLA on a session on education and training. Because I'm a librarian in Nigeria, because I'm a librarian in Oyo State, I was able to get to that position because I'm associated with NLA. Do you get that? So, and every year we all converge in a particular place, every year, once in a year, to have our conference, and IFLA gives a platform for you to collaborate and network. This year we'll be going to South Korea, Busan in South Korea, where you can share your research. You have a platform there to share your research, to collaborate, and to network. So that gives you opportunity for librarians outside your country to know about you.
Now, there is this common complaint that Nigerians no longer read. Do you agree?
No, I don't. What we read, but we are not intentional readers. We read according to our needs. Like now, a student writing exam will read because he or she is writing exams.
Okay.
But it's not a pleasure reader.
Okay. What's the difference?
A pleasure reader is somebody that reads all the time, whether he has exam or not. Intentional reader, reads everything and anything. He's not reading to pass Echo 101. He's not reading to pass WAEC. He's not reading to pass GC. He reads voraciously to acquire knowledge. He reads everything, and for such people, they have wider vocabulary. Their thinking horizon is very big because they can relate with things. They make research. They look up for new words. And these are the things we are not doing with the children nowadays. In the Western culture, they have culture of reading to their children. What they are trying to do is to make sure they are trying to introduce reading to the intentionally.
Right.
Even in some homes, they read right from when the baby is in the womb. They read, and you see them before they sleep. Either the mother or the father, is an habitual thing for them. So the child grow up to understand that I have to read. So she's not reading to pass exams. Reading becomes part of her. She becomes a habitual reader.
Right. As a researcher, I want to ask, what differences have you noticed between schools that have active libraries and those that do not have?
Schools that have active library, they are active library and that are making use of librarians. Their students will be, the information literacy skill of their student will be very high. And once you have a student with high information literacy skill, the student will definitely be able to read on his own, recognize information, categorize information, and be able to access information when he needs it. And that is all what we need to make it in life when it comes to reading.
So what exactly, I've not heard that before, what exactly is information literacy?
Ability to search information.
Okay.
If you want to search for information now, the way I will search for it is not the way you search for it. Me, I have that skills. If I'm looking out for anything on Oxygen FM now, I know exactly the search word to put into Google. So that, because if you just put Oxygen FM, Google will give you 1 million results about this thing. But if I want to search for it to give me the exact thing that I want, I have the Boolean words that I will put. Maybe I want to search for oxygen and Ibadan. I will put and. Or if I want to search for, oxygen in Ibadan or the one in Osogbo, those are just the technical aspect of it. So for a school that have an active school library with a very good school librarian, the students there, we have high information literacy skill. And information literacy skill just help you to know how to access information, how to recognize, how to evaluate. In these days where we have deep fakes, where we have lots of infobesity, information overload, we have lots of misinformation, disinformation, malinformation. That is where the information literacy skills and the critical thinking skill come to play. Ability to recognize that, this information is not true, is a fake information. Ability for you to restrain yourself from sending and resending, forwarding fake information and authenticating fake information. All this will come from your use of information literacy skill.
Thank you. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, we shall delve into today's question, the $1 million question. Welcome back, Dr. Sophie.
Yes,
Your own journey is proof that learning never ends.
Yes.
And that brings us to today's conversation. We now live in a world of Google, ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, and a host of other AI tools. So let me ask this question on everyone's mind. Madam, do we still need libraries?
Yes, very, very well.
Why will you say that? When I can just, at the touch of men, just touch some buttons. Whatever I want to look for will be at my fingertips.
Those things you are looking for on ChatGPT. ChatGPT actually use books too. Each time you feed anything into those generative AIs, we call them generative AIs, they feed on whatever you are putting onto them. Whereas most of those things that you think are right are not really right. Because of citation. If you look at any citation given to you, especially when you are not using the Pro of ChatGPT, you notice that they are non-existent. Whereas a librarian will give you exact information that you need. So while AI have come to stay, there's no doubt about that. But AI, I want to put it to you now. Since when have we had calculators?
It's been long.
Does that stop government from employing mathematicians?
No.
Mathematics teachers?
No.
Okay. Do you want to tell me that? No.
I'm the one interviewing you. Don't turn it around.
Okay, I'm just trying to establish the fact that, technologies are there to ease.
Okay.
To ease, the way we do business. To ease, it's not just about libraries now. But AI, the integration of AI, will ease the work of librarians or libraries, but it cannot take it away. It cannot.
Are you saying that technology has not become a threat?
It's not a threat. It can never be a threat. It can only be a threat for a librarian that is not upping his or her game.
Okay.
Just like in any other business, technology is a threat to every business. But like now, like this studio now, you have just confirmed that you don't have to own the whole of Ibadan to run a radio station because of technology. Do you get it now?
Yep.
So if the other ones, I don't want to mention name, if they are not deploying technology, then people will not listen to them again because of the kind of generation we have now. The kind of people we have in the community now, they are not analog. They are digital citizens. So whatever we are doing, there is need for us to deploy technology, which AI is.
And that brings me to another question. What I've heard about it, I'm not in your field, so let me just ask, and I'm not ashamed to ask it. What is a digital library?
A digital library is a library that deploys technological tool. So the traditional library is a library where you go to and take books on the shelf.
So how are Nigerian libraries trying to cope with this deployment of technology?
It still depends on the ownership.
How are they adapting to digital revolution?
Yes, for librarians, right from the library school, we've been exposed to some courses. But you know that in everything you still have to train and retrain. So you cannot just depend on those theories that you were taught because of our curriculum in Nigeria. We all know that most times is theory. Lecturer comes to the class and give out theory. But in library schools, we are supposed to have like a laboratory, IT laboratory, where those things, because nowadays, even for the cataloging that we do, we have the online version. So to tell you that as a librarian, you cannot even exist without technology now.
So at this level, I believe that artificial intelligence is changing education. Do you think librarians should be worried?
No, I said it. Librarians are not worried. Because, you see, do you know, I've forgotten the name of the country. Recently, they reinvest so much in education, in library. Because they deviated away from the library. Is it Sweden or Spain? It started, I will confirm. They had to go back and reinvest so much into human libraries, because AI cannot give you, the kind of this cultural sensitivity or emotional intelligence that you need.
Let me say this. I read a few days ago, Ford recorded about 300 of their engineers having discovered that the AI tools they have deployed, those tools were not working as they had expected. In fact, they have to recall about 300 of them. I read that IBM did the same and some other companies. Are you looking to a situation in the nearest future that if anybody tries to do it with librarians, they also have to come back like what we are witnessing with Ford, IBM, and other companies?
Nobody can even do away with librarians.
Really?
It won't happen to us. They understand. And let me tell you, that is why you see parents are doing so much, because the government is not doing what they're supposed to do with schools when it comes to libraries and librarianship. So they are not
is
even
it at tertiary level, or you mean at secondary school level?
At the secondary school level. That is why we have issues at the tertiary level.
All right.
Because it is what you give to us at the tertiary level that we work with. Do you get it now?
Yep.
So, but at the elementary level, where the students are supposed to have acquired all the needed skills when it comes to academic achievement, reading is beyond just when we were growing up. By 2:00, everybody is out of the school. You go home to help your parents and read. You can read on your own. But now, even after closing 2:00 or 4:00, there is still a lesson teacher waiting. And anytime I look at it, okay, that thing that you have taught that student, when is he going to read? When is she going to read? Whereas if you are not reading, you are going to rely on residual knowledge. And that is why we still need miracle centers. Despite all the efforts, you still have to help them in exams, because we didn't create enough time for them to read.
Well, we live in an era of fake news and misinformation. So how can libraries help citizens separate facts from falsehood?
Yes, like I said, when I was explaining earlier on, I mentioned something about infobesity, information overload, misinformation, deep fake, where you are not able to recognize the real from the fake. People forward old video to look as if
To
it's
misrepresent.
something to misrepresent. But as librarians, we've been taught right from the library school how to differentiate. We look at the source, we look out for the source, we look for the authenticity, we look for dates. There are some basic things we look out for to confirm if it is genuine or not. And that was why I mentioned information literacy skill. Is a skill that you will intentionally teach a student or anybody to know, so that when you are faced with information, the first thing you have to look at home. My husband, at times, when he's forwarding some things to me and I tell him this is not real, I'm very sure it will be like, how did you know? And I'll point it out to him. There are ways of checking, like now, like in physics, I think there is an author named Okeke. So if I want to confirm anything in physics, I'll look out for authors to confirm if these authors are real, if they are involved or not. A lot of things like that. Do you get it now?
Mm-hmm. We'll be back to continue this wonderful conversation. Welcome back. This is still Oxygen FM 96.9, and the program is The Professional Edge, Education Unlocked. With me on this program today has been Dr. Sophia Adeyeye, immediate past chairperson, Nigerian Library Association, Oyo State Chapter, and head of department of Library, Archival and Information Science, Leeds City University. Thank you. Now let's go. I've been on several platforms and people sending fake news, things that are not true, that even when I look at it, I look and say, is this person so daft that you don't even know that this is fake? So how can librarians help us to identify fake news before we start forwarding it? Because somebody will just forward whatever. I think I've created a name for them: professional forwarders. They just sit and they just forward it without fact checking. Whereas you can just fact check. Fact check.
That thing is, people don't. Most of us, we want to just, and some people, I think they are in competition about who is the first to forward. You are not diligent enough to go through, and you as a non-librarian, you're able to recognize that, this is a fake news. So I always tell librarians, even when I was the chairperson, that as librarians we should help government to create awareness. We should create awareness about all policies. We should create awareness about things that are happening around us. When people see that people that are professionals are talking, it sends signal. Gradually we are not there yet. because people, there's a lot of apathy against whatever is happening, and people keep sending anything. But I want to believe that as librarians, it's as information professionals, we own the government and citizen that duty to create awareness about issues around us, so that people, citizens, we have first-hand information. And once you have information about something, once and maybe you somebody forwards things to you, that information you have about it will help you to evaluate. I think it is the evaluation skill that is missing. People cannot evaluate information to differentiate between fake and fact.
Is it talking about fake? Just yesterday on a platform I belong to, somebody just sent forwarded a message, and to imagine that he copied it from an online newspaper that green tax had started by 1st of July. And in that, I had to go and read. When I read it, I think the person that the original newspaper also made a mistake, because green tax was not about, it's not about new vehicles. It's at the point of entry that you pay that tax. And I look at a whole of things. I said, I will fact check. I had to go and fact check, and I read about green tax and all the rest. And when I went back to the platform, that said, this is a lie. The person was even fighting me. So what do I do when you correct somebody that was wrong? And he was saying that you are a supporter of this government, they have paid you, and the rest.
And I think at that point, you have to now bring out your source.
Okay.
So it's not about emotions. Once you are correcting somebody and the person, you must always state your source. So he should bring out his own source, and the most credible source owns the day.
What I've discovered,
and that is why in research they will always tell you to cite.
Okay, where have you gotten this one from?
Yes, you must cite. So it is not about emotions now. So next time you are correcting a person about your facts, so when you went back to research about it, just make sure the link, put it there. So you are not talking out of emotions. You are talking based on facts and figures.
So what should governments at all levels be doing differently to strengthen libraries?
At different levels.
Yeah, local government level, state government level.
Establishment of library is key. Public libraries. I remembered for all adults now, as in when I talk about adults, I'm looking at people over 40. They made use of the public library in Dubede to read. But now, each community is supposed to have a library. Schools are supposed to have libraries. So establishment of library, funding of library, training and retraining of librarians so that it can function properly. Those are the three things.
So, what career opportunities exist in library and information science beyond working in the traditional library?
Okay, beyond working in the traditional library, you can actually have a consultant firm where you help people to, curate information. I can do that now. I can curate information, and I get paid for that. That is, if you want to stay on your own, you can work in organizations as knowledge managers, as information professional in that organization, as information resource person in that organization. You can work in IT hub, because the career path is not just about library now. It's about it has the other side, which is information science. So you can work in international organizations. You can work remotely.
So what advice would you give to young people considering this area? What advice would you give them?
It's a very, very, very good part. And don't listen to it. For me, I think it's a personal thing. Whatever path you want to choose for yourself, be intentional about it. Be intentional about it and know everything about it. Be involved and deploy technology. There is no way you can exist now without deploying the technology, without knowing the IT aspect of your work. it's a very good part, and I love it. And I keep encouraging other, younger ones to go on that path. It's a very good path.
So
it opens,
doors for
doors. Yes, it has opened for me, and it's I'm still on it.
So what are those qualities that will make somebody to become a successful librarian in today's world?
Ability to learn, relearn, and unlearn.
Ability to learn, relearn,
And unlearn.
and unlearn. What does it mean to unlearn?
At times we have this thing in our mind, or we've been taught something, or maybe mistakenly we pick on a particular thing that is not right. Then you should have the ability to unlearn and relearn the new one. Don't just hold on to what is not working. Don't hold on to old knowledge. Be open to newer paths, to newer knowledge. And when we are talking about learn and relearn now, most times it's still about IT and technology.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Sophie Adeyeye. We'll take a short break. I'll be right back. Welcome back, our listeners out there. We are still on the Professional Edge, Education Unlocked, on Oxygen FM 96.9. And I've been discussing with Dr. Sophie Adeyeye of Leeds City University. I've been looking at various issues concerning books. You recall that last week, when I had a guest here, Dr. Fasasi, we talked about the parents. And I just want to ask, Madam, have you come back? What's your opinion about parents these days concerning their students, their kids' education? Have you experienced situations where you look at them? You just talked about your dad, how strict he was when it comes to reading. Have you seen such with today's parents?
This morning, I had a class, information policy, with PhD students, and we discussed about JAMB policy, about age, the age restriction that 16 years old and below don't have business. And I put it out to them that policy, we had to look at the policy holistically. And I felt, for me, okay, after a long debate, I had to wrap up, and I told them that, number one, we got to that stage because parents are in a hurry. We all know that anybody below 16 years old don't have business in our institution. When you consider the emotional intelligence, self-regulation, and some other things. But the economic situation nowadays is actually not helping parents and parenthood, and not because then when we were growing up, I will still not blame the modern parents, because when we were growing up in our days, is either the mom, most times the father don't allow the mom to work, or even if you are to work, you would rather be a teacher where you can come back home 2 o'clock to send to look at for them. But nowadays, everybody, as in the both parents, they have to work because they want to give the best to their children. And the best time, the formative years, if children are unattended to, then it has a long wrong impact later on in life. So reading is not something you acquire, halfway your life. It's something that, it has to be intentional and be embedded into you right from childhood. Right from childhood. Some people, they acquire it maybe later in their lifetime, but it's not always like that. So for parenting, and for me, I think I don't really envy them, because they have lots of things. Then also for the children too, they have so many distractions. Unlike when we were growing up, when we were growing up, you don't have phones. You only watch television once in a while. I remember where those days our television had this key. My dad will lock it up and go, and once in a while when he forgets to lock it up, we watch, and things like that. But unlike these days where children can watch Netflix on their phones, we buy our headphones for them, we allow them to be on social media. All these are distracting them. And in a case where the mom and the dad, they are professionals, that's why for me, I don't envy them. But we can also, I think for some mothers, they let go of their career while their children are growing up, and after a while they take it up again, and that's a big sacrifice anyway. And then some people rely on house help, some people rely on families to take care of their children. But in all honesty, I don't envy them. In all honesty,
every time I have professionals like you, education professionals on the program, I always want to ask them about education malpractice, examination malpractices, and it's becoming so rampant. The last exam, they claim that they have seen it days before the day of the examination, both WAEC and NECO. And at the end of the day, we begin to wonder, what kind of students are we producing? And before you know it, these same students will get to the university, and then they will also want to cut corners. And you still see some parents who still want to go ahead and help their students with their lecturers in the university to cut corners, and then eventually they will graduate as half-baked graduates, and the cycle continues like that. How can we break this cycle?
For me, I don't really blame a particular sector, because we have the ecosystem, educational ecosystem, where we have the parent, the teacher, the government, the society, and the student. At a point, everybody has contributed one way or the other to what we have. And is a huge problem, because the issue is not coming from a particular hand. It's everywhere. So, and to resolve it too, we all the stakeholders, the people in the ecosystem, we have to sit down and decide. Because as a teacher, if I've decided I don't want to be involved, what of the parent and the student? What of the government? What of the school owners? But all this issue about malpractices, I will link it to non-reading and competition, unhealthy competition among parents.
Right. And even there are some parents who would like their kids to live out their dreams. When they were growing up, they wanted to become doctors.
Yes,
they couldn't become
and
doctors.
they first. I remember asking my dad. That was at a time I had to ask him, Oga, which university did you go to? Because he actually wanted every one of us to live his dream. Do you get it now? And he was forcing us to science classes, and I couldn't cope. So you see parents forcing an average student to go and do medicine or law, or whereas the student will excel in other places. And another thing is the government not making the guardian counseling unit, not strengthening that aspect of education. That's another issue where students can go and they will discuss their parts, discuss all these things, and they'll be able to be guided properly.
As we close today, let me ask you another question that I always ask every professional I have on this program. If you had just 1 minute to speak directly to policymakers, school owners, young Nigerians about libraries, what would your message be?
Libraries have come to stay. Libraries have evolved, and it's still evolving. So our libraries are not dead. So we should invest in libraries and believe in librarians.
Thank you, Dr. Sophie Adeyeye. It's nice having you.
Thank you.
1 hour just like that. We hope that when we call you next time, you still oblige us.
I will.
Thank you, listeners out there. It's been a wonderful edition of The Professional Edge today on Oxygen FM 96.9. Until I come your way next time, keep reading. Thank you.